On the phone with us right now is Harvard Law Professor Emeritus Alan Dershowitz. Alan, on these developments and what you think is with the Rod Rosenstein visit to the White House today, pre-planned, we're told, but what do you think?
Well, I think Rosenstein stays. I think the White House counsel and Trump's lawyers want him to oversee the investigation to finish it. But then I think the crucial question is if there's a new attorney general in place and the new attorney general is confirmed by the Senate, the big question is going to be whether or not the report gets released publicly. That will be a decision that can be made by the new attorney general because it has really nothing to do with overseeing the investigation. It's a policy decision, and we don't know who the president is going to appoint. He doesn't have complete free reign. There are enough Republican senators who wouldn't let him appoint a crony, who would at least insist that the person appointed be somebody of distinction and some degree of independence. So, the president wants a loyal person in there, and he has the right to get one. But there are limits to the loyalty that the Senate will allow him to demand from an attorney general. So I think the big issue is whether the report gets released, and that will very likely not be up to Rosenstein, but instead be up to the new attorney general.
All right, but would this acting attorney general, Matthew Whitaker, be in a role, he would be the superior to Rosenstein, would he not? And he would be the one calling the shots, right? Technically, but I think he would defer for several reasons. Number one, he has his own possible recusal because of the op-ed that he wrote, although I don't think that's a ground for recusal. But I think he's the new guy. That's what Chuck Schumer wanted to do. That editorial alone was good enough for him to demand his recusal. But you don't think that's enough?
Don't think it's enough. But I do think that he's not going to want to take over the investigation. I think he'll defer to Rod Rosenstein. And but then when crucial decisions come up, like whether the report is made public, he may want to weigh in and actually take responsibility for making that decision.
Now, was it your gut feeling that there was closure or that something was coming together on the Mueller probe? There had been talk that maybe within just the next few weeks we were going to get the Mueller findings. If that were indeed was the case, how does this complicate matters?
Oh, I don't think it complicates matters very much at all. I think if they're getting into closure, I think everybody wants to see closure. I think the president's lawyers want to see closure. I think the American public want to see closure. I think probably Rosenstein and Mueller want to see closure. So I think everything is moving toward a result before the new year. But remember, it's nothing dramatic. What happens is there's a report and it's turned over to the attorney general, and the attorney general then makes the decision whether to turn it over to Congress. Congress then has to, of course, if it's turned over to Congress, no matter what the rules are, it will leak. We know that. But it probably won't leak if it stays within the Justice Department.
Now, obviously, the president and his own legal team had to be aware that the timing would raise issue here. You're a great student of history, and obviously these type of, cabinet firings or replacements are nothing unusual after midterm election. This one in the middle of this, legal back and forth and the Mueller probe, what have you, it makes it a little bit more of a hot potato issue, but how much more of one?
Well, I think it's a big issue because, remember, an acting attorney general is just that, acting. And he will be replaced by somebody who has to be confirmed by the Senate. And I think that gives the senators, Republicans, obviously, who control the Senate, some say over who gets the job. And there are always a half a dozen senators, and we saw that even during the Kavanaugh proceeding, who are somewhat independent of the president. Look, it's the president's party, but there are limits to how far he can go. And I think there'll be some negotiations between those senators and the president as to who gets appointed.
Real quickly, Rod Rosenstein arrives at the White House, whether this is regularly scheduled or not, Alan, and they tell him, all right, Matt Whitaker's our acting AG, you're going to report to him. What's to stop Rosenstein from saying, well, then I'm out of here, I quit?
No, he won't do that. I think he has a vested interest in this coming to closure. I think he would quit if the president tried to tell him he couldn't do this or couldn't do that.
Or asked a resignation letter from him, right?
Yeah, the president has already said earlier that he's not going to replace Rod Rosenstein. And I think that's a decision that was made not only by the president, but by his legal team as well. And they may know something that we don't know. And that is that, Rosenstein, although he's been tough and all of that, may in the end want to make sure that the report is a fair and balanced one. So if the president and his team know that, and I think they want to avoid the appearance of a Saturday night massacre, I think Rosenstein will stay until after the report. I think he'll probably resign once the report is made public. And, of course, the other thing is the president didn't appoint Rosenstein to be the acting attorney general. He could have done that. He would have been a natural, the second person in command. But no, he went to the chief of staff, which is a very unusual choice. I mean, chief of staff is, different than somebody who's deputy or associate deputy attorney general. So that's very unusual.
All right. Alan, thank you very, very much. Alan Dershowitz.